Patrol Unit 3, a 19 responded to a 911 call at 23:14 hours. Caller a female in her mid-30s reporting movement inside an abandoned barn at 214 North Bracken Road, stating she lived alone, no livestock, barn in use for years, voice tremulous, background static online. Officers D. Myers and T. Holt arrived at 2332, gravel path overgrown, surrounding fields dark, porch light flickering intermittently. House appeared secure, no forced entry, barn door broken, rusted lock hanging, strong odor of decay and stagnant water. Officers announced presence. No response. Both drew flashlights and entered barn at 2341. Interior dark, floorboards partially collapsed. Old farm tools scattered, low-frequency hum audible, source indeterminate. Temperature dropped, breath visible despite ambient 67 degrees Fahrenheit. Movement observed behind stacked crates. Officers issued commands. No response. Myers lifted tarp. No person found. Disturbed soil underneath circular, 2 feet in diameter, moist. Bundle of cloth saturated with unknown fluid. Straw and leather fragments. Holt attempted collection. Body cams failed simultaneously. Open mic recorded overlapping whispers repeating, "We remember." Lights restored 13 seconds later. Both officers disoriented. Dizziness, tinnitus, sense of crowding. Perimeter sweep completed. No other individuals found. Backup requested. 3B. 11 delayed due to fallen tree. While waiting, front door of house, previously locked, found ajar. Interior smelled of mold and dust. Kitchen surfaces coated with grime. Refrigerator unplugged. Rhythmic creaking sound from upper floor. Infrared detected faint heat signature, humanoid shape at landing. Officers called out. Figure moved suddenly out of range. Upstairs hallway lined with photographs of the woman at different ages. Eyes scratched out. Attic door jammed. Hole forced entry at 028. Body cam distorted. Attic. Appeared empty except rope hanging from ceiling beam. Pile of coats below. Movement behind officers. Figure identical to Myers. Head tilted unnaturally. Mouth open beyond anatomical limit. Audio spike 118 dB. Signal loss 31 seconds. Resumed feed, attic empty. Myers muttered, "She's here now." Soil beneath barn patch showed magnetic fluctuation. Collected sample altered on route to lab. Labeled inorganic crystallization anomaly. Officers exited at 004. Holt vomited near fence, metallic. Taste reported. Detectives are Latham and E. Cruz assigned 746. Officers Myers and Holt on medical leave. Myers reported hearing breathing under floorboards. Holt reported seeing self-blink on wrong side of camera. Footage review revealed 13 missing frame sequences, each 4.3 seconds. Audio and gaps resembled human heart rhythm, but inconsistent tempo. Overlay of final attic segment revealed outline of non-existent room extending beyond house perimeter. Property revisit 912 with CSI Unit B. 4. Barn door. Open despite evidence seal. Soil patch enlarged 6 feet. Black viscous residue. Radiation spike 0.07 millisieverts above background. Subsonic rumble felt by personnel. Ambient temperature anomaly. Soil visibly moving like breathing. Inside house heavy condensation on walls despite stable exterior temperature. Floorboards warped upward. Drill snapped during sampling. Power outage 10:02 entire Bracken Road. Faint childlike laughter from above during blackout. Attic door bulged from hinge side. Figure in corner female silhouette. Hair obscuring face. Stepped backward into wall and vanished. Power restored. Rope reappeared tied in wet loop. Fibers human hair mixed with sinew. Night surveillance recorded motion alerts 013. 104, 146. Every 10th frame misaligned. Horizon subtly shifted. 319 automated mic captured whisper. It wants its name back. Unknown voice. Timestamp matched 24-hour mark of Myers' prior statement. Myers returned alone. 22:02 unauthorized access. Last. Transmission partially intelligible. I saw her reflection move before I did. Signal ended. Cruiser next day, engine running, headlights on, seat empty, body cam on dash facing field. Final frame shadow match Myers' silhouette. No body. Search initiated 5:40 next day. Multiple units, including K9. Cruiser locked from inside. Windows fogged with greasy residue. Fingerprint smears circular. Dogs agitated and collapsed. Field survey 8 acres. Flattened circular depressions 5 feet wide. Thermal drone detected heat signature beneath surface moving northeast. Human-shaped imprint in ground. Shallow puddle of translucent liquid. Sample cracked spontaneously. Crews reported male voice calling her name from under barn floor. Loose planks lifted revealed tunnel descending 15 feet. Interior walls mucosal film. Reflecting light. Air temperature 39 degrees Fahrenheit. Static interference. Playback of previous night. Distorted with Myers' voice repeating, "She's here now." Crews descended with harness. Line jerked violently. Harness coated in viscous residue. Structural vibration caused minor collapse. Cavity resealed overnight. DHS classified area subsurface acoustic event. Crews exhibited disassociation. Memory blackout 7:10 to 7:40 verified by footage. Audio segment recovered. Myers whisper, "Tell them not to dig again." Multiple civilian reports, 2,200 hours columns of pale light rising from soil folding inward. Responding officers found no lights, equipment malfunctioned. Body cams flicker glimpse figure in barn doorway. Translucent, spiral handprints layered, match Myers' DNA. Evidence seized. Technician viewing body cam saw own reflection blink out of sync. Resign next day. Memo, all footage corrupted. Archive freeze, initiated. Background whisper continuous. Remember the whole. Final analog backup received 314 from within 1 mile radius of property. Metadata list unit 3A19. Engine and wipers operating though weather clear. Myers' voice faint. It's not the house. It's the space under it. It's still moving. Background low, rumble breathing like. She's not alone now. She's learning shapes, static gravel crunch, door creak. I tried covering it, but it keeps unfolding. The soil doesn't end. It just turns back on itself. Badge number and unit, do not send them here. It doesn't want to be left empty anymore. Overlapping whispers, echoing words, female voice aim as Cruz's footage step down. Daniel, subsonic tone 18 Hz, equipment failure. Partial video restored shows barn interior reforming. Beams spiral inward. Floor breathing visibly. Frame 784 kneeling human figure surrounded by pulsing soil light. Heat signature dropping. Face revealed Myers. Eyes hollow. Emitting faint light. Whisper. I waited for them to remember. Sinks arms in his soil. Structure. Folds inward. Light extinguished. Signal ends 319. Recovery technicians report nausea. Ear pressure. 3 hours later, power substation failed. Drone 742 reveals no barn. Flat land. Circular dark patch matching prior depressions. Faint cold human-shaped outline. Drone feed loops final frame until manual shutdown. Site condemned. Geological survey reports no structural instability. Magnetic interference radius 50 meters. Directive NQ. 47 non-quantifiable event. Personnel reassigned. Latham. Final note 09-30. We were wrong to think it started there. The hole is not a place. It's an invitation. Servers record unscheduled upload from bodycam 3A19-04. File blank 17 minutes. No audio video. Waveform shows faint pulse repeating every 4.3 seconds. Matching missing frame intervals from original footage. All events logged. Personnel status is redacted. Property remains under permanent observation with access restricted. Any attempts to re-enter property result in unexplainable power failures, localized magnetic anomalies, intermittent subsonic vibrations, equipment errors, faint disembodied whispers. Officers who attempted observation report nausea, metallic taste, temporary vertigo, disorientation, multiple unexplained temperature drops localized inside house and barn, floorboards creaking without load, dust disturbed as if walked through by invisible entity, photographs in hallway continually found altered with scratched out eyes. Multiple items in barn and house found displaced despite locked perimeter. Repeated soil depressions expanding in diameter daily. Rope hanging from attic beam observed to reappear in exact configuration overnight despite removal. Samples of viscous residue transforming chemically upon transfer to lab. Ambient electromagnetic fields fluctuating in localized space. Repeated echoes of prior officer voices recorded on surveillance and backup devices. Final confirmed recordings show overlapping human and spectral voices with precise timing intervals mirroring missing frame durations. Repeated low-frequency hums correlated with moments of sighting, atmospheric pressure anomalies. Intermittent condensation on walls. Rooms appearing distorted, shadows and human-shaped impressions on ground, floors, and walls. Anomalous light refraction and motion detected through thermal imaging. Unaccounted for heat signatures beneath ground. Unexplained changes in structural geometry. Repetition of phrases we remember. It wants its name back. Tell them not to dig again. Step down. Daniel, remember the hole. Subsonic tones, 18 Hz, causing equipment failure and minor physiological effects. Multiple civilian reports corroborating strange aerial and ground light phenomena. Recurring visual patterns. Entities indistinct but humanoid in shape. Disappearance of Officer Myers. Subsequent partial transmission recordings detailing spatial anomalies beneath property. Pulsating soil. Structural deformation. Spectral imaging confirming humanoid figure. Evidence of melting or folding architecture inside barn and attic. Temperature irregularities. Distorted perception of vertical and horizontal planes. Auditory hallucinations or anomalous recordings affecting observers. Personnel reporting metallic. Tastes, nausea, vertigo, fainting, memory gaps coinciding with anomalous events. Repeated measurement of electromagnetic spikes and low-level radiation in soil. All recorded timestamps aligning with prior anomalies. Repeated interference with cameras and recording devices. Intermittent failure of radios and sensors. Multiple surveillance attempts yielding either corrupted or looping footage. Visible reflections and shadows not corresponding to any known physical object. Cumulative reports. Spanning 09-17 through 09-26. All personnel reassigned or missing. Property remaining physically absent of structure upon final observation. Final known evidence suggesting phenomena originates beneath property in subsurface space. Unknown parameters of expansion and effect on surrounding environment. Final confirmed subsonic pulse frequency matching previous missing frame intervals. Persistent overlapping whispers in recovered files. Spectral overlays indicate combined human and non-human. Activity, multiple objects appearing and disappearing without explanation. Environmental readings consistently anomalous. Documentation sealed under high-level directive. All remaining digital and physical evidence stored under classified conditions. Surrounding area subject to restricted access. Repeated warnings in memos and logs about not attempting entry. Any disturbance to site coinciding with immediate equipment failures. Personnel experiencing unexplainable physical and psychological symptoms, final statements, and recordings pointing toward incomprehensible subsurface entity. Continuous monitoring recommended. Case closed in official logs with notation of non-quantifiable event and invitation-like phenomena observed. Human and anomalous patterns overlapping in repeated observations. Cumulative effects noted in surveillance and recovered recordings. Residual heat signatures. Soil movement, pulsing lights, structural collapse, and reforming. Repeating intervals, faint audible. And recorded voices. Missing frames, corrupted footage, spectral overlays, persistent atmospheric anomalies, Ongoing unexplained phenomena. All observations documented continuously over multiple days. Last recovered transmissions showing figure consistent with Officer Myers. Translucent. Kneeling, sinking into soil, whispering repeated warnings. All anomalies confirmed through thermal, visual, audio, and electromagnetic sensors. Patterns consistent across multiple observation attempts, events. Unreproducible outside original site. Property permanently condemned. Anomalies continuing in soil and subsurface despite absence of physical structures. Repeated low-level vibrations and subsonic tones detectable in proximity. All documentation collated into single continuous file spanning 9 days, with repeated intervals, distorted sensory inputs, personnel reports, environmental anomalies, spectral visual overlays, low-frequency hums, recurring whisper phrases, sudden temperature drops, condensation, structural shifts, light anomalies, shadows and reflections, missing or distorted human figures, repeated folding of architecture, soil pulsing, rope reappearing, viscous residue, electromagnetic spikes, low level, radiation, and multiple unexplained environmental readings, case sealed, marked classified, personnel reassigned or missing, continuous warning phrases documented, final recorded pulse waveform matching prior, missing frame intervals, repeated anomalous events linked to subsurface presence, entity interaction inferred but unconfirmed, ongoing monitoring recommended. Final files documenting overlapping human and non-human activity, equipment failure, physiological effects, spectral evidence, environmental anomalies, all records logged, all timestamps verified, anomalies persistent, recorded over multiple days, phenomena remaining non-quantifiable, subsurface origin, site permanently condemned, continuous subsonic pulse every 4.3 seconds, repeated visual and auditory anomalies, overlapping voices, human and non-human forms, soil disturbances, atmospheric anomalies, structural collapses, photorealistic distortions, thermal and electromagnetic readings, all anomalous. Final. Recommendations sealed. Case file closed with non-quantifiable designation. Continuous warning annotations present. All evidence secured. Site remains under permanent restricted access. Final observations recorded in continuous log. Anomalies verified and persistent. All known evidence corrupted or blank, yet containing waveform pulse matching missing frames. Site confirmed anomalous with permanent, ongoing, unexplained subsurface entity. Warnings persist in recovered files, continuous. Monitoring and no further entry advised. Phenomena remains active and non-localizable. All prior recordings and logs indicate continuous interaction between personnel, environmental readings, and anomalous subsurface entity, confirmed by repeated observation. Final pulse repeating every 4.3 seconds continues. Documentation sealed and classified. Officers returned to site under supervised observation 09-27 at 5:12 hours. Perimeter secured. Environmental readings still anomalous. Soil depressions expanded slightly overnight. Faint subsonic vibrations detected. Thermal scans showed irregular heat signatures beneath surface. Multiple personnel reported metallic taste and dizziness. Visibility poor due to dense fog localized around property despite clear weather elsewhere. Initial sweep indicated barn foundation absent, flattened terrain, with darkened circular soil patches. All previously marked depressions visible and expanded up to 0.3 meters in diameter. Small glistening residue, traces present on surface, samples taken immediately altered chemically within seconds. Low-level electromagnetic readings spiking intermittently. Audio capture devices recorded faint, overlapping whispers resembling officer voices, but distorted and echoing across multiple channels simultaneously. Repeated phrase, "We remember the whole discernible at." Subaudible levels. Observation team reported sensation of crowding and pressure against chest despite open field. Thermal drone deployed 544. Detected heat anomalies moving in erratic, nonlinear patterns beneath soil. Readings inconsistent with human or animal activity. Trace infrared anomalies visible as fleeting humanoid shapes appearing and vanishing. Soil depressions exhibited subtle rhythmic expansion and contraction. Repeated pattern of breathing motion discernible from ground sensors. Several team members reported visual hallucinations of figures kneeling or crouching within depressions, despite thermal and visual sensors showing empty ground. At 6:07, one officer claimed to see another version of himself reflected in puddles of soil moisture. Images distorted and desynchronized, concurrent subsonic hums resonating through feet and boots. Low-level nausea reported across entire team. Continuous wireless recordings captured fragments of prior officer communications and whispers of unidentifiable voices. Multiple personnel experiencing short-term memory lapses, sense of time distortion, fatigue disproportionate to exertion. Team withdrew temporarily at 6:42 due to safety protocol. At 7 o'clock, resumed perimeter observation with drone and ground sensors. Additional soil sampling revealed unusual crystallization patterns. Fibers resembling human sinew mixed with organic matter. Fibers responded to electromagnetic interference by pulsating subtly. Repeated audio recordings captured phrase, "It wants its name back," interspersed with prior phrases. Background static appeared to pulse in synchrony with soil vibrations. Field cameras recorded intermittent anomalies, shadows appearing briefly in areas not covered by visible light. Thermal imaging detected heat traces dissipating too rapidly to be human. At 7:28, small localized temperature drop of 12 degrees Fahrenheit observed inside. Perimeter despite stable ambient temperatures, condensation appearing on drone and camera lenses. Personnel noted faint visual distortions resembling movement across floors and surfaces that were actually empty. Repeated light anomalies observed in peripheral vision. Optical instruments registered light refractions inconsistent with known physics. At 8:01, drone footage captured humanoid figure crouching in central depression, translucent, indistinct facial features, low light reflecting from. Hollow eye sockets. Figure disappeared when approached by thermal sensor. Soil beneath depression pulsed in synchrony with figure movement. Subsequent visual overlays revealed multiple superimposed shapes, impossible to separate, resembling both human and non-human anatomical forms. Vibration detected in soil transmitted to surrounding ground up to 5 meters. Personnel noted pressure sensation in chest. Auditory hallucinations of breathing and whispers increased, some individuals unable to articulate perceived phrases. Repeated pattern of 4.3-second intervals in audio recordings matching prior missing frame intervals. One officer fainted after reporting that soil seemed to form hand-shaped protrusions rising slowly, harnesses and equipment coated with viscous residue, identical to previous samples. Attempts to remove residue failed. Material reappeared within minutes. All electronic monitoring devices experienced intermittent malfunctions during periods of highest soil activity. Multiple personnel attempted to descend into central depression via safety harness. Lines subjected to sudden, inexplicable tension, nearly dislocating arms. Repeated observation of rope hanging from hypothetical attic beam, projected from subsoil anomaly. All samples transported to lab degraded or transformed chemically during transit. Internal temperature of containment boxes fluctuated irregularly, crystallization patterns forming within minutes. No known chemical or physical process. Replicated observed transformation. Repeated low-level humming recorded continuously by all devices. Frequency analysis revealed subtle phase shifts matching previous spectral anomalies. Repeated audio overlays of officer voices speaking distorted warnings. Phrases including, "Tell them not to dig again," "Step down," "Daniel," and "Remember the hole." Multiple observers reporting visual distortions of own reflections in equipment surfaces, temporal perception altered, repeated minor tremors felt. Through field boots, drone sensor interference intensified near central depressions. Thermal imaging displayed humanoid outlines rising slightly from soil before dissipating. Repeated soil respiration pattern discernible through vibration sensors. Local electromagnetic field readings spiked intermittently. Presence of circular anomaly confirmed. Cumulative readings suggest entity or phenomenon extending beneath surface in three-dimensional space. Shape-shifting or folding observed via overlapping thermal and visual overlays. Observers reported sense of being watched and followed despite perimeter control, slight auditory lag in radio communications during heightened anomaly activity. Personnel exhibited short-term amnesia, misidentification of team members' positions, repeated visual cues of kneeling and crouching humanoid figures appearing and disappearing, low-level nausea, dizziness, metallic taste, all symptoms consistent with prior night observations. Multiple visual sensors captured reflections of entities mirroring personnel movements independently of actual motion. Repeated expansion and contraction of depressions measured via ground sensors in exact rhythmic intervals, matching prior 4.3-second pulse. Repeated auditory patterns confirmed by spectral analysis across multiple channels. Soil sampled at various points continued to pulse, emit faint heat, and respond to electromagnetic interference. Continuous, overlapping whispering recorded by all audio devices. Spectral overlays revealing multiple sources, some voices identifiable as personnel, others unidentifiable. Repeated pattern of interaction between soil, energy readings, and recorded voices, low-level radiation readings fluctuating. Environmental anomalies persistent. Personnel experienced vertigo, perceptual distortions, cumulative effect of repeated exposure observed, multiple attempts at measuring dimensions of depressions inconclusive, shape and depth inconsistent. Thermal imaging revealed rapidly moving heat signatures beneath surface, multiple figures appearing simultaneously and overlapping in impossible geometries. Final observation 09-28 at 9 o'clock hours recorded central depression pulsing, faint humanoid figure. Kneeling within, translucent, eyes emitting faint light. Observers report whispered phrase. I waited for them to remember. Figure slowly sinks into soil. Surrounding soil deforms and folds inward. Light extinguishes. Thermal and visual sensors capture collapse and reformation of surrounding soil geometry. Remaining depressions expand subtly. Subsonic vibrations continue. Low-frequency hum persistent. Personnel report nausea, dizziness, sense of crowding, faint metallic taste, repeated. Observation of rope-like structures emerging from depressions. Material verified as composite of human sinew and hair fibers. All attempts to collect or remove samples result in material returning to original configuration within minutes. Repeated spectral overlays suggest cumulative memory imprint of prior personnel, reflected in audio and visual anomalies. Repeated intervals match missing frame and audio gaps from initial recordings. Final drone observation shows no surface structures. Flattened terrain. Darkened circular patches matching prior depressions. Faint residual heat traces forming human-shaped outlines dissipating within seconds. Subsonic pulses continue at 4.3-second intervals. Repeated environmental anomalies. Cumulative documentation indicates entity persists. Subsurface presence unquantifiable. Personnel reassigned. Multiple individuals missing or resigned due to psychological effects. All recovered files show overlapping human and non-human activity. Continuous low-level radiation, electromagnetic spikes, pulsing soil, atmospheric distortions, temperature anomalies, condensation, visual and auditory hallucinations, structural deformation illusions, recurring humanoid silhouettes, whispers, and overlapping recordings. All data sealed and classified. Permanent restricted access to property. Final pulse waveform matches prior, missing frame intervals exactly. Site confirmed permanently anomalous. Entity or phenomenon remains active and non-localizable. Multiple observers report sense of invitation or expectation from site. Repeated warning phrases persistent in recordings. Cumulative evidence supports continuous interaction between subsurface entity, environmental factors, and human observers. All phenomena observed to date remain non-quantifiable. Case closed under high-level directive. Continuous low-level subsonic pulse recorded every 4.3 seconds. Overlapping whispers persist in multiple files. Soil depressions continue. Rhythmic expansion and contraction. Material transformations occur within seconds. Multiple personnel experience psychological and physiological effects, including dizziness, nausea, vertigo, perceptual distortion, memory lapses, metallic taste, transient disorientation. Hallucinations of humanoid figures, reflections of self, in equipment surfaces moving independently. Cumulative observation indicates persistent anomalous activity centered on subsurface. Spectral imaging confirms overlapping human and non-human forms. Low-level radiation, electromagnetic interference, thermal anomalies, repeated pulsing of soil, folding and unfolding of terrain features, light and shadow anomalies, disappearance and reappearance of objects including rope and viscous residues. Repeated whistle or voice patterns, multiple overlapping human voices distorted in recordings, continuous structural and environmental deformation, cumulative subsonic vibration affecting personnel and equipment, repeated audio phrases including "tell them not to dig again," "step down, Daniel," "remember the hole," "I waited for them to remember," repeated observation of kneeling or crouching humanoid figures, translucent appearances, hollow eyes emitting faint light, all anomalies persistent and ongoing. Environmental readings showing continuous fluctuation of temperature, electromagnetic fields, subsonic vibration, soil movement, soil pulsing in rhythm with audio anomalies, spectral overlays confirming overlapping human and non-human forms, repeated visual distortions, reflections, shadows, atmospheric anomalies, light refraction inconsistencies. All personnel experiencing cumulative disorientation, nausea, metallic taste, vertigo, memory lapses, perception of time distortion. Repeated overlapping whispers, persistent low-frequency hum, continuous pulsing soil, repeated anomaly intervals matching 4.3-second pulse from original recordings, repeated disappearance and reappearance of objects and figures, persistent spectral anomalies, ongoing unquantifiable phenomena beneath property. Entity remains active, continuous subsonic pulse. Overlapping audio and visual recordings, multiple personnel affected psychologically and physiologically, site permanently condemned and sealed, continuous monitoring required, cumulative documentation of repeated anomalous phenomena, all timestamps verified, anomalies persistent over multiple days, overlapping human and non-human activity, repeated soil pulsation, atmospheric anomalies, temperature irregularities, light and shadow distortions. All recovered files sealed under high-level directive. Phenomena non-quantifiable. Persistent subsonic pulse every 4.3 seconds. Overlapping whispers. Repeated environmental and structural anomalies. Entity presence inferred. Site permanently anomalous. All prior recordings and logs indicate continuous subsurface activity. Human and non-human interaction. Anomalies persistent. Final pulse waveform repeating indefinitely. All personnel reassigned. Multiple missing. Continuous warning phrases in recovered files. Permanent restricted access maintained. Cumulative evidence indicates entity remains active and non-localizable. Repeated spectral and thermal anomalies. Ongoing low-level radiation, soil pulsation, environmental distortions, whispers, visual anomalies, temperature anomalies, structural and subsurface deformations. All phenomena observed non-quantifiable and ongoing. Case file sealed, directive high level. Entity presence persists beneath site, subsonic pulses, spectral overlays, soil pulsation, overlapping human and non-human activity. Continuous monitoring recommended, phenomena persistent, repeating, ongoing, site condemned, and under permanent observation. All. Warnings in recovered files continuous. Anomalies documented. Entity presence unquantifiable. All previous personnel affected. Site permanently anomalous. Phenomena ongoing. Pulse 4.3-second intervals continues. Cumulative documentation complete. Case closed under directive non-quantifiable event. Entity active. Ongoing observation required.